Hey, Julian here. As a software engineer or an ex-software engineer, someone who has been in the business for over a decade coding, I want to tell you that you don't have to code forever. For some of us, the path will always be um, develop, code, learn more, advance, go through junior, mid, senior, or junior, senior, or senior, right? Staff engineer, create your own software, run startup, create a product, sell it, retire. For some of us, that is the ideal thing, right? To use our software development skills and to become rich, or to use our software development skills so we can keep learning, 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 and never retire. But for some of us, that's just not the case. We love coding now, or we loved coding back then, um, but you actually don't have to code forever. I do love coding. I love it. I did it for a long time. I still do it in my free time. But there is nothing tying you to coding. The fact that you used to code or you know how to code doesn't mean you have to do it. You don't have to keep doing it, doing it, doing it. You do forget stuff the longer you're not using it, especially with syntax, etc. But I think the ability to solve problems is not something that goes away. And so, if you're scared right now about stopping or thinking about your path, go ahead and do whatever you feel like. So I want to go into this video and speak about alternatives to coding and when you know you should stop. So first, I want to talk about how or when you know you should stop, right? So as I mentioned, problem solving is something that you probably will never forget in terms of approaching a problem. Your different approaches or how you approach it will, of course, evolve as you learn, but you'll always love solving problems. And I think that is this is at the core of being a software engineer. But there comes a time when you find that you're working in a particular product or in a particular company, or it's just a space in your life that you're at that you're just not enjoying the process. You're not enjoying putting code in the IDE. You're not enjoying seeing solutions. You're just not enjoying it, or you just burn out. You think you're enjoying it, but your brain is just not in sync, or your body is just tired. And I think this is one of the, or these are some of the ways in which you know that you need a break. You need a break. You need to see if it's temporary. You need to see if it's going to be permanent. So this is how you can tell, from my perspective, that continuing along this path may not be for you. I see in the recent times, I think a lot of people, having taken work home during this pandemic, have realized that they need a break. People have been quitting left, right, and center without an alternative because they know based on how they market it, they will be able to get a job. So this idea of sabbaticals or self-imposed sabbaticals, you take a month off, a couple of weeks in between jobs. A lot of people have been doing it because they've realized that as they progress, the passion for that product or the passion for coding itself is dying, and they need to recenter themselves onto that. So if you find that you are burnt out or you're just not loving that product, that could potentially solve that problem. So, take a break, use your vacation days, use some mental health days, use your sick days, um, leave the job, take some time off to just go and figure stuff out. And when you come back, you can, reevaluate whether you want to get a new role, or whether or not you want to just do something on your own. So you realize the burnout, and you just figure out how to fix it. So now that you've figured out coding right now is not for me, what about your next steps? So I would say that there are two options. You either stay in tech, um, or something tech adjacent, or you quit tech totally. You quit tech, you go to something else. One of my friends wants to do carpentry, which I think is a grand idea. I do love well-made furniture, so that could be something for you. Or join the circus, whatever floats your boat. Um, but in terms of staying in tech, outside of tech, there are many options, as you can imagine. But inside of tech, I want to just kind of stay in the space. You're still in tech, but you don't want to code. What are your options? When people think management, sometimes they think leading engineers, and for some of us, that can be a gradual progression, especially if you've been leading a team as a tech lead. You're a senior engineer. You're good with people. You're good with speaking to stakeholders or influencing stakeholders or influencing the architectural roadmap. So that's an option as an engineer manager or as an architect. So look at the skill that you have right now, and you don't want to code, but you want to still influence the product from a technical standpoint, from the engineering standpoint, in terms of how we build what we build and how that scales. Look into becoming an architect. You may need to code, but you may not need to code as much. You may be looking at POCs, you may be doing white papers, you may be attending talks, you may be putting things together, but it may be something so out of scope in terms of what you were doing before you could actually enjoy it. In terms of the engineer manager bit, which is one of my dream careers for me, in my opinion, depending on the company, you stay on the tech side, you get to sit in on those conversations, use your experience to potentially influence the architecture, the way we're going, but also get a chance to bond with people, to have people that you help to mentor and coach and influence their careers and go and petition to higher management on their behalf. So that's something I truly enjoy. So in that role as an engineering manager, what you want to do is, be a voice for your individual contributors on your team. Ensure that you create a safe space for them to speak to about their career goals and aspirations, how they want to grow professionally within the company, personally could be outside the company as well, and help them to achieve that, while keeping in mind the architectural runway and also the product runway of the software of the product that you're working on. So for me, and it depends on the company, an ideal engineering manager role does not do more than 15% coding. But if you have to code, or if there's a brand, or if you just really want to learn it and you have that opportunity, go ahead. But your focus should be on the product and the company, but also on your team. And you need time and you need space to ensure that your people are happy and that you're actually sponsoring them in the way that they need to be sponsored for their career. So that's another option if you just don't want to code. I can look into spaces like being a product manager or project manager or program manager, which are all different roles, right? As a product manager, you're looking into the product itself. Or it could be the software, it could be something that clients interact with. You know, if you look at Facebook as a product, Spotify as a product, you are interfacing with the clients, you're interfacing with the analytics team, you're looking at what you want to build and creating roadmaps for that alongside engineering. So you are the voice of the customers per se. You don't have to code, but you're saying these are what we want to build, this is what creates value, this is what creates business value, and you're bringing that to the team in a meaningful way, hopefully with stats to back it so that they can build it. As a program manager, you're also working with the team, building out the roadmap, but you're also more conscious of the timeline. As a project manager, you're also looking at the product, you're also looking at the roadmap, but you're sitting closer to the team in terms of helping those timelines along, removing any impediments, bringing the proper stakeholders in so that the team can have whatever it is that they need to build. In some companies, they do have project managers. In some companies, they're scrum masters. In some companies, they're agile coaches. But whatever the role, even though they have their nuances and they're really not the same, your goal is to ensure that whatever business value or business item that the product manager brings to you, you're helping the engineering team to execute that, by helping ensure that the right persons are brought in, the right resources are brought in, and then the engineering manager will work with the team to ensure that is built. Right? Some companies have program managers where there is a project that is of a longer life cycle, or they may be sitting above many project managers to ensure that the entire scope of the delivery on a higher scale is managed and handled. So those are actually other roles that are within tech adjacent, that doesn't involve coding. You know, in terms of UX design, I don't think, I wouldn't say it doesn't involve coding now, because when you just started out, or for me, the idea of creating the user interface was a lot different from, generating the HTML CSS. But now there are many software with integrations that you can generate that. There are persons who are creating the CSS along with their actual design. So before it was just, you get in a document or an image, and this is how it looks, and you have to go and you have to inspect the color and, put it in yourself. But you can actually generate those now when you sometimes get a full CSS, full style sheet along with the design. So I can't say that that doesn't involve coding. But there are many, many other avenues, for you to take. You can look at DevRel, developer relations role, where yes, you may code, but you may not be coding that much. You'll be doing more POCs, versus I have this ticket, I need to deliver by this particular time. This is this deadline or this artificial deadline that I need to meet. There's defect in production that I need to solve for by a particular time. So yeah, there are many, many other roles in tech that doesn't involve coding. For me, I did a decade in coding, and then I moved to project management. So I did the project management thing, super loved it. Never had to code. But I still felt like I was able to look over the shoulder of the dev sometimes and look at the tech side. Not as much as I would have wanted, which is what I found out later on. And this is highly dependent on the company you are in. But I jumped out of coding, and this is what I decided to do after just realizing that though I loved coding, I was at a space where I wanted to do something a little bit different. So yeah, I'm gonna put a link with all those roles and description of them in the description box, so you can check those out if you want. You don't have to continue coding if you don't want. I can assure you the experience you have, it will be useful somewhere else, and you may find out that you want to try another language. You may find out that you want to do no code solutions after all, but you have to take that space and you have to get to that realization that this is where I'm at, this is not working, this is the break I need, you have to take it. So don't code if you don't wanna. Thanks for watching.